Hey everybody, welcome back to BetMeADate. I'm Dr. Aviva Gaskill, and today I'm going to be speaking with special guest Dr. Blaylock on dating and what's inside a man's head in a heterosexual relationship. Subscribe to this channel for more videos on dating challenges that can be tough to overcome, getting into the person that you're dating's head every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. I'm Dr. Aviva Gaskill, and I'm a clinical psychologist who has helped dozens of patients overcome dating challenges. But I can't do this work alone. I do it with the support of expert advisors like Dr. Blaylock.
So we've had a whole new way of trying to do things, but we made it work.
We did make it work.
So thank you. I thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to speak with you a little bit about things that men know, and particularly for you, since you're a dating expert, that women don't know. I feel like a lot of women try and get inside of a man's head in terms of dating, and I thought maybe you could shed some light on that for us. So before we get into that, if you could tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. I'm the author of 2 books, What's Your Date Number? And the one that I wrote during the pandemic this year, Cheat Proof, Why Good People Cheat.
Wow.
And What to Do About It.
Okay.
And so basically, I mean, I do a lot of events and workshops. I like to put the fun back in dating. I really think that people concentrate too much on the romantic part of singleness, and they forget the process of just learning the person, learning who you're getting in the car with. You just don't want to just get in the car with a stranger just to see where it goes. You need to know kind of if you're compatible, what their priorities are. So I like to brand myself pretty much as a communication strategist because too much focus is put on love these days. So if we don't know how to effectively communicate, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know. So I've been doing this for a few years. Done a few very interesting shows and workshops and stuff.
It seems
that's
that
kind
way.
of where I am right now. And the pandemic has slowed a lot of stuff down. It really has. I
definitely have noticed that too. People are lonelier than ever. They're more frustrated with dating than ever. And I think they're really more challenged. And yet there's a feeling of like wanting to try and date, wanting to make something work, wanting to get out of this place of being lonely.
Yeah, the pandemic has a lot of people coming face to face with their choices.
Yeah.
You know, if they're married or in a relationship and they have to spend more time with that person now, they're like, what the hell did I do? If they made a bad choice, or if they surrounded themselves with material things they really don't like and that don't matter. They're coming face to face with stuff. So I think this year is going to bring a new level of awareness and decision making.
Or I think to your point, right? There are people who are like, oh my God, we are terrible at communicating with each other.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And it's in their face now.
It is just in their face, because only when the words that come out of your mouth and into my ears are defined the way that you meant them, then effective communication has occurred. But a lot of people, you know, Aviva, when you're single, now is the time to prepare. I mean, how many people are reading on effective communications? You know, do people even know what soul words are?
Right.
You know, and for your audience, you probably know. But whenever you're in a heated discussion, when you start saying never, always, forever, you stop a person's brain at that point, and it starts to find reasons to disprove what you just said. So now it's not about hearing what you say, it's about winning this argument.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So Dr. Blaylock, what are some things that men do that you as a man, but also you as a communication and a relationship expert know that a lot of women don't know, or that even just a lot of people don't know in dating?
In dating, men are going to do what routinely works for them. That's number one. Number two, because of authoritative mating, men are going to pursue women they feel they can get. Not necessarily the ones they really want. The ones they feel they can get And that's why sometimes women find themselves in relationships and they feel like they're not quite good enough for the guy, or he has a wandering eye, whatever. It's because he felt he could get you.
Yeah.
But the woman he's looking at, that's what he really wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the third thing is men will either love bomb you or they'll play dismissive. They'll play into the idea that if a man really wants you or he's really interested, he will do whatever to pursue you. And that's love bombing. Or he'll play to the side of you that most women want. They just want the guy that won't quite act right, Aviva. It's like the shopping cart with the one wobbly wheel. You know, it's like you're trying to hold it there, but so they'll play dismissive, or they'll play kind of hard to get, and that turns women on as well. So those are the three tactics that a lot of men use. Love bombing is extremely effective.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Tell us about that and why women maybe should want to and do want to constantly get into a guy's head and know what he's thinking. And again, we're talking about, right, heterosexual relationships here. Right. So obviously that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but it could apply to other folks too.
Right. Well, one is a need for inclusion, and the second is a need for a sense of control. You know, but I'm going to push back a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of women that I work with, they're not interested in knowing what's in a guy's head.
Ah, okay.
As far as understanding, they don't want men to be men. A lot of women have an idea of a man in their head. They have this imaginary guy.
Yeah.
That they want average men to live up to.
Yeah.
And men are just not interested in being that fairy tale version of man that you want in your life.
They have these very unrealistic goals, you feel like, from talking to women.
It really is. And I wrote a few things. It's like a lot of times when men voice their grievances to women, we're told to man up. Just get over it, man up, and do the right thing, which normally translates into do what the woman wants you to do. But men are just not interested. We're in the 21st century.
Yeah.
We're in the swipe right society now, where if I don't like you, I just it's like shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
I replace you. So I don't have to be
I don't
what you
respond
want.
to your texts.
Exactly. And most women want the same guy. Tall, attractive, in shape, makes a lot of money. You don't think that guy knows that?
Right.
He knows that he's in the minority. Yeah. So he doesn't have to bend to your will like you know, lesser men would. You know. So I would just say, you know, women, stop trying. If you want to understand a man, realize that men, I call it the 3 C's. If a man is getting companionship on a consistent basis, with access to coitus, or for those people who don't know what that is, like sexual expression, this dude is happy. He's happy. If he's seeing you today and he's getting those 3 things, he's going to probably be happy tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that. If it's not broken, he's not going to try to fix it.
Yeah. Well, but that's a good point too, right? That if it doesn't feel, and this is for people who are already in relationships, if it doesn't feel broken to him, you're saying, he won't try and fix it. So unless, like, it sounds like there, you know, if a woman's unhappy in a relationship, again, we're talking about heterosexual relationships, but if a woman is unhappy in a relationship, she has to show him, like, you're really, or make him really understand you're losing me, for him to really understand, oh, I have to make a change. And even then, you know, he would have to be willing to make a change. And that's not necessarily realistic either.
Right. I mean, during the dating process, if you get to know a person, how they really are, then you can deal with them. You can't deal with different people the same way.
Yeah,
truly. Can't. If you know that he has a very fragile ego, you can't come at him and tell him exactly what you want, because he cannot take it.
Yeah.
He just cannot take it. So during the dating process, that's a lot of stuff that you can figure out about your person. Know his history, know her history, and realize that men spend time in spaces where they feel they're winning.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point. Can you tell us more about that? Men live in spaces where they're winning. Yeah,
they like, okay, he's not necessarily doing all that overtime because he has to. He's just good at his job. He's winning at his job,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to be there.
Yeah.
When he comes home to you, you're going to remind him of the things he's not doing to make you happy, to keep you happy, how he should change, what he used to do that he's not doing now. He's not winning there, so he doesn't want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
He doesn't. So what does that normally happen? In Cheat Proof, I talk about he may find some other area of expression where he feels appreciated.
Yeah.
It's not that he wants to leave the current relationship. He just wants to be where he's winning. And sometimes the other woman will make him feel like he's winning.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it's a really good point that there is something, and I think you're right, like even with men who don't have super fragile egos, right? That like, and quite frankly, we all want to feel in some ways, right? Man, woman, or otherwise, right? We all want to feel in moments in our life that we're winning, that we're doing a good job, that we've accomplished something. I mean, I'm a psychologist now, which is very slow work, right? It takes a long time to see a change. But I worked for a friend before I went to grad school as a house painter. And it was so nice to be able to do something and look back at the end of the day and be like, oh yeah, we painted that house. That looks good.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right. And you know, Aviva, another thing is that people normally say that they want that old school type of love. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
I want the old school type of love.
Yeah.
But
simpler. They
really,
think it's simpler.
they think it's simpler, but the old school type of love, it was about commitment.
Mm-hmm.
These days it's about love.
Right.
Whenever it's about your emotions are not your enemy, but they're not your friend either.
Yeah.
They're just there.
Yeah.
And I just want to be happy. You don't make me happy anymore. Well, your partner is not responsible for your happiness.
Truly. Truly.
You know, if you can't find and define your happy space, then maybe you need to be by yourself until you can.
Yeah.
It's just too much pressure. I think that relationships, like back in the day, a man probably had to be the protector, the provider. But these days he has to be the best friend, the confidant, to go shopping with you. So most men are just not built that way. We're just not. I don't want to hear about everything. Just tell me the problem so I can find a solution.
Yes. And that's true too. I see a lot of men solution oriented, solution focused. There must be a way to solve this problem. And I think you're right. A lot of women don't necessarily want a solution. Sometimes they want to just be able to go and talk about how they're feeling. And even sometimes, not always, but sometimes just complain about it and have someone listen or have someone validate that. But they don't want a solution per se.
Right. Because women is about community. Men is about solving the problem.
Yeah.
So it would be great if you could just sit down and talk to your man like you do your girlfriend, and he just listens to you like, what? And she did what? How could she?
Right.
I can't believe that. You know, if he does that, that will make a woman feel so much better, because not that she wants you to solve her problem. She wants to be heard, understood, included.
Yeah.
But men are like, I don't want to hear, just get to the point. Yeah. And which makes the woman feel invalidated. You don't never want to hear me and stuff, and then soul words come into the place.
Yeah.
And that just builds up over time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
One more thing I want to bring into the conversation. There's this book by Dr. Helen Smith, and it's called Men on Strike.
Okay. Why
Men Are Boycotting Marriage, Fatherhood, and the Education System, and Why It Matters.
Yeah.
If your readers or your listeners have not read that book, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah. Sounds really interesting.
It really is. It really is.
And I know for me, I mean, I would like to hear more about the book, but it just rings a bell for me. Like, I used to live in New York, right? And in New York City, what you were saying, right? These kind of high value men, right? Men who make a lot of money, tall, handsome, fit, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's their playground. You know, they don't have to settle in New York City. Like, you know, there's a lot more single women looking for someone in New York. And, you know, gorgeous also women who make a lot of money and who do, you know, but they're having a very hard time with dating because of that. So I'm curious, because it sounds like there's something about this book that could be helpful to folks listening.
It is, because men don't value love as much as women do. It's about respect. Women are interested in love.
Yeah.
Men are like, no, love is going to get in and mess up the equation. I'm getting companionship on a consistent basis with frequent access to sex. I'm good.
Yeah.
But then when I love you and we enter that into the equation, now I'm supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do that. It can overcomplicate the situation for most men. It's like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Old Spice has been the #1 selling aftershave for over 155,000 years because it works.
And do you
It
feel
works.
like men kind of run away from complication, run away from sort of what's extra?
All right. This is going to kind of get into the weeds a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
You have masculine energy and you have feminine energy.
Right.
Masculine energy is about movement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not content here. I'm on this side of the mountain. I want to get on the other side of the mountain to establish. It's all about moving forward, progressing, whatever. The nature of woman is to settle. It's to be consistent. A woman can take a man who falls in love with her, that's a rambler, and he falls in love. That joker will settle down. You can look at some of the old cowboy movies or whatever. The rambling man, he gets a good woman, he settles down on the homestead. That's the nature of woman, to settle. Not settle for bad stuff, but it's to create an environment that's conducive for growth and stuff.
Well, I was thinking, maybe making, maybe trying to shape something out of what I've got, right? Some people can look in the kitchen cabinet and they can be like, oh, I've got a can of beans of this and of that, and I'm going to make a meal.
Yeah. But the man don't want the beans and the rice. He wants pork chops too. So he's going to run to the store. A woman's like, this is what we have here. Let's make this work. Let's grow with this. But that's not really the nature of a lot of men. And I think that both genders need to really take a real look at how the other gender is. Like women are not going to be what we want them to be. They're they're just not the glamours. They're not the Beyoncés or whatever it is, the Kim K's of the world. They're getting all these implants and stuff to live up to a certain image. That's not really them. Most women want to feel secure. Yeah. And they want to be loved by a man. Yeah. And if she can get him and she feels secure and loved like they can build, she's happy. Yeah. She can take that. But a lot of women need to look at it as well. Like, well, you know what? This dude, he's rough around the edges based upon his past. You got to look at a person's history so you can understand them. But be like, a man can be motivated, encouraged, or inspired to change. Yeah. He dates one woman for 5 years and she gets nowhere. He breaks up and within 6 months or a year, he marries someone else. It's kind of like the woman learned the man. Yeah. She inspired, motivated, or encouraged him to be something else bigger than what you could do. So it's like, I think that sometimes women overcomplicate the thought processes of men. It's not that difficult. A lot of women want us to be women who are in men's bodies. Yeah.
So it sounds like really, that you're saying men and women need to really set more realistic expectations. And you're going to laugh, but I don't know if you remember this sketch. I don't know if you watched In Living Color. I'm a big comedy. I used to be a big sketch comedy when I was younger. So there was I believe it was In Living Color, not Saturday Night Live. There was a sketch that was called Lowered Expectations, and it was like this video dating service. Right. And it, but really, like, lower your expectations about what you want and need in a partner. There are unrealistic expectations about what we say, what society says, what culture says about what we're supposed to get from a partner. Right. And it sounds like you're saying it's too much. We've got to be much more mindful about that.
We do. And a lot of us, we overestimate our value anyway. Yeah. You got to look at, supply and demand. Yeah. In the 21st century, with the internet, maybe once upon a time I was limited to girls in my city. Now I have women all over the country that I can show interest in. And if I have the ability to travel and stuff, it's opened up a lot more options to me. Yeah. Even though that's an illusion, because a lot of us don't have as many options as we think we do. Yeah. But you got to look at it like, if most women want tall, dark, or light and handsome with 6 figures, 6 packs, and all this stuff, it's like, how, like you said, realistic is that? It's like, okay, the value of that is very high, but the supply of that is very low. Yeah. So if I'm that type of guy, I know that there are way more women that want me than not. But when you look at women, It's not hard to find a six-figure woman these days that's doing her thing. It's just not. Women have been out earning men for years in certain communities.
Yeah.
You know,
It's true.
when I bring up statistic data, especially among black men, when I'm like, okay, the average black male makes between $27,000 to $32,000 a year. They don't want to hear that. I don't want it. I'm like, but that's generally speaking. You want this guy making
You didn't make it up.
$100,000. Generally speaking, according to census data,
Yeah.
if he's making 40, let me give him a raise. He's making 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
What can you do with 40,000 if he's a good man? If you have your isms and expectations and he's supposed to be on the same level as you are, you're going to dismiss him. But a lot of women are dismissing great men.
Yeah.
And I say, go inside your friend zone and snatch some of those men out of your friend zone that are great men you don't want, but you'll recommend them to your friends. Those are great men.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I know that I've talked a lot about, I know I've done other interviews with other experts who've talked a lot about too, that in certain communities, and particularly for Black women, that dating is, for Black women and also for Southeast Asian men, that dating is more challenging. And there are cultural variables in that. You know, there are prejudices in that really come up for a lot of folks, and that challenge those communities too. And I think you're right, like setting more realistic expectations. If you live in that world and if you live in that community, and if you want to date someone who is a Black man, right, that is setting more realistic expectations about what that could look like are important.
Exactly.
And I appreciate, like, some people want to date within their own community, want to date within their own race, and some people are open to not, and that's fine. Whatever they want to do is fine, but it's important to have more realistic expectations about what that would look like.
It really is, because at the end of the day, men are going to be men, women are going to be women.
Yeah.
You might express it a little differently.
Yeah.
But men, most of the time, it really doesn't matter the ethnicity.
Yeah.
We value respect,
Yeah.
mostly over love.
Yeah.
And if you mess around and you trigger his disrespect mechanism, you're going to get an adverse reaction. I don't care if it's black, white, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends,
Yeah.
you know? And so I'm just kind of thinking across the board, we're more similar than not. We are just socialized differently.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good thing. So a good thing for you to share. Are there any other kind of final tips before we get wrapped up that you want to share? Yeah.
Yes. I would say when entering a relationship, know your price, not necessarily your worth. A lot of times people would say, I know my worth. I'm not going to settle for less. No, you're just not going to settle for something you don't want. It might be good for you. It's just not as tall as you want it to be, or as shapely as you want it to be. But knowing your worth is a subjective thing based upon how I value myself. And I think that, okay, whatever. In the marketplace these days, we're in the 21st century. Forget about knowing your worth. Know your price. And by that, I mean, set your price with interest whenever you get ready to go into a date. Like, you know, I meet this person, they're going to disappoint me.
Yeah.
They may lie to me. Who doesn't lie? I don't want to say everybody lies, because I don't know everybody, but most people lie.
Yeah.
And we lie for different reasons, either to protect or prevent something to happen. So if I lie, and I know I lie, why can I not expect you to lie sometime?
Yeah.
You know, so, but know your price with interest.
Yeah.
And once it gets beyond that point, whatever that is for you, be willing to cash in and walk away.
Yeah.
Be willing to cash in and walk away.
It's really interesting, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, you know, if I was on a dating site and I'm a tall woman, right? I'm about 5'8". And if someone on a dating site said, I'm 5'5", right? I would probably not be so interested in them on that dating site. But I know personally, you know, when I was dating, I definitely dated people who I met in person who were shorter than me. And it wasn't any kind of issue. It wasn't kind of, and that feels important too, right? Like, what you, maybe when we're talking about realistic expectations and this price and your value and all of this stuff, have I always felt like I had to date people who were that specific value, or that I had to pay that specific, did I have to meet someone who was in these criteria, or was I willing to be more flexible when it was in person in the past?
Right.
Am I just being, especially, when it comes to internet dating, is it more of an issue there?
It is, because it's an illusion. I mean, you're able to present whatever you want to online, and it's like, okay, I don't like you. Swipe, 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 swipe. I can keep swiping until I come across something I like, but that does not represent people in the real dating world. You're not going to be able to encounter that many people like that, and just know your worth. And I mean, when it comes to like, know your price. I mean, at the end of the day, just know your price and just grow up. At the end of the day, ladies, realize that most men are not going to emotionally mature until the age of 43 or 44.
Yeah, you said that to me when we first spoke, and I thought that was very interesting.
Well, just not. And you can find women in their 20s and 30s. Gosh, I'm dating these guys just like I'm dating little children, because emotionally they are not there yet.
Yeah,
they're not there yet. So be a little patient.
Yeah.
And up your picky. Is like, when you get older, that doesn't mean that you get more mature. It's like, I know some women who they're in their 50s and they're talking like they're in high school.
Yeah.
Like, same expectations in high school. I'm like, you're 50 years old now. You still, anyway.
And I think it's interesting because, the sexual peak for a lot of men is 18, but the sexual peak is not necessarily the maturity peak, is what you're saying too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and so you can look at this guy, if he went to college and he has the job, he has the car, he has all the trappings. You think because he knows how to do business that he's going to know how to do relationships. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, because a lot of the things I tell the women too, Aviva, is a man who's acquired a lot of things, he's used to getting things.
Yes.
So a woman on his arm is a thing. It's a trophy.
It's the arm candy. Yeah.
It's arm candy. And it's like, what does he do with things? He doesn't have to deal with things. If things break down, I just replace my things.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily get it fixed. I just replace it. And you will be replaced if you're messing around with these 6-figure guys, because they're just not as motivated to settle down. Why should they?
Yeah.
I mean, why should they be that motivated?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge with us. I really appreciate it. And Queen, thanks for joining us. Wave back to you. Where can people who are interested, Dr. Blaylock, find out more about you and the amazing work that you're doing in the world, trying to help women to meet men that they deserve and get into good communicative relationships?
You can find me at Dr. Andre Blaylock. Dr._Andre_Blaylock on Instagram, but it's andreblaylock.com on the World Wide Web. And hopefully once we get past this pandemic, we can start opening up with the SOS, isms, expectations, and why you're single workshops again.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And where do you do those? Where do you do those typically?
Well, typically it's like, let's just say the way it used to work is women would get some of their family, friends, co-workers together. 75 to 100 women. We'll just kind of book wherever it is, and they bring me in, and we just have the events that way.
I love it. Love it.
Because it's more personal, as opposed to a large platform with hundreds and hundreds of people where you can't be that personal.
Yeah.
And then I'm not the easiest person to digest. I'm going to be honest with you, because it's not my thoughts, my opinions, or whatever. This is based upon research. It's based upon just social skills and basic people behavior. I mean, if you can understand those things, you can have more skill with dealing with people across the board. But if you're coming from it, if you're addressing it from a romantic, I know my worth and a man or woman should do A, B, C, D perspective, you're not really doing yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Because most of us date the same person in a different body.
Yeah.
You get the same results. And who wants that?
Well, and that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, break the pattern, change the perspective, do something new, think about it in a different way, and maybe you'll see some different results. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for dealing with the technical difficulties. I appreciate your time. You were a real trooper.
Thanks for having me, and I'll talk to you later. I'm happy to get you on my show one day too.
All right, that sounds great. Take good care. Bye.
And don't forget to check us out on betmeadate.com to meet all of your dating goals. Like, subscribe, and check out more of our content on overcoming dating challenges on YouTube at BetMeADate.